Okay, so we see that verse 18 is a perfect description, perfect reflection of what the doctrine of the locust is to do. Is to prepare the way for the Antichrist into the physical form, which is exactly what verse 18 is describing, 666. That's the significance of it being there, okay, because that's exactly what the doctrine's to do. And of course, the doctrine is being symbolized as the fire, the smoke, and the brimstone, which is representative of the symbolic hell, and which is described by Enoch as being this hot desert. Okay, and then the description for the fire, the smoke, and the brimstone, symbolized as these crystallized doctrines, is now going to symbolize in connection to Leviathan. And it's going to be shown that it's the very same description of what's coming out of Leviathan's mouth, his words. So this will prove that the locusts themselves are channeling the very spirit, personality, identity of this fallen light being, because you're going to see that the locusts themselves are speaking the same symbolic words as Leviathan. About to show it to you. Now what I want to do now is I want you to look here. It says, for their power is in their mouth. Once again, that's where their power is. Where is it coming from? And in their tails. For their tails were like unto serpents. There's your kundalini. Okay? And then it says, and had heads, and with them do hurt. Now how many heads? 7 heads. There's 7 chakras. That's what it's trying to describe to you. It's trying to describe in a biblical, old world way that the power is coming from the kundalini rising serpent. And that this serpent has 7 heads, and with them they do hurt. Now if we want to make that connection, what I want you to do is I want you to just notice this line here in Isaiah chapter 27 verse 1. In that day the Lord with his sword and great and strong sword shall punish Leviathan, the piercing serpent, even Leviathan, that crooked serpent, that he shall slay the dragon that is in the sea. In other words, Apollyon, Enki, Lord whose home is water, Ea, Lord of the flowing waters. Basically the biblical devil, okay, the fallen light being the fallen prince of this world. So in this great day that's coming, we find out that no matter what happens, no matter what these beings try to do, we see that they're going to be punished. Now look how they're being punished. They're being punished by this strong sword. And we know that the sword in which this is talking about is the words of Jesus Christ, the gospel of Jesus Christ. And it doesn't say that it's going to annihilate them. It's going to punish them, because they still themselves are going to be judged righteously and mercifully. So Leviathan being described as the piercing serpent, okay, and then Leviathan being described as that crooked serpent, is what's going to connect us to the scientific interpretation of the kundalini. But I want you to see now that just that the fire, smoke, and the brimstone coming out the locust's mouth is in relationship to Leviathan. There's his description. And now we'll go to Job, and I'm going to show you that it's the very same thing that's coming out of the Antichrist's mouth. And we need to be looking at about verse 18, once again, 666. By his neesings a light doth shine, and his eyes are like the eyelids of the morning. Out of his mouth goeth burning lamps, and sparks of fire leapeth out. Out of his nostrils goeth smoke, as out of a seething pot or cauldron. His breath kindleth coals, a flame goeth out of his mouth. Now that's describing 100% chapter 41, Job, which is, canst thou draw out Leviathan? Now this is the rising of the kundalini spirit, and not only that, it's the rising of the spirit into a flesh form. It's going to now time us up now from verse 18 through 21, a description of Leviathan himself. Now what I want to make the connection to now is just to the fire, smoke, and the brimstone. The very same thing that you see here that's coming out of his mouth is exactly what we see coming out of their mouth. On the same verse. By these 3 was the third part of the men killed, by the fire, by the smoke, and by the brimstone, which issued out of their mouths. When I come back, I'll connect the kundalini scientific description, and that's no coincidence.